Hello, everybody. My team and I are going to present the country of Vietnam. Before starting, we're gonna ask you please to look to the link we're gonna send in the chat where is everybody with Alamilla, so you can check over again the video if you want to. Without further notice, we're gonna start the presentation.
Let's start talking about history. Vietnam history is divided in 5 periods: the ancient era, the Chinese era, the dynastic period, the colonial era, and the republic era. For problems of time, I will put the little information as I can. Let's start with the ancient era that will last from 2879 to 111 before the Common Era, with 3 dynasties and 3 kingdoms. The 3 dynasties will be Hong Bang, Toc, and Triu, and the kingdoms Ban Lang, Aulak, and Nan Yu. The Triu dynasty or Nan Yu kingdom will be conquered by the Chinese. As an important data, all these ancient era were around the Red River Delta, that we will mention it on the next presentation. The next period will be the Chinese period that starts on 111 before the Common Era and ends on 939. When the Han Dynasty conquered Nanyu, starts the first Chinese domination, in which China wanted Nanyu to adopt their culture, religion, etc. But in 40 AD, Su Ding, that was a Han official, will kill Tai Sach, the husband of Tron Trap. So she was furious, and with the help of her sister Trong No, will start a revolution against Han, known as the Trong Sister Rebellion. And in 41 AD, the sisters take many cities of Nanju, and in the same year, the sister will proclaim itself as queen and viceroy, that means virrey. But its reign will be short because on 43, a veteran general named Manjuan attacked Queen Trong and recovered the cities that they had lost. That and in the same year, the sisters committed suicide. With this event, the second Chinese domination period begins. 500 years will be the ones in which China will dominate Vietnam. In 248, many revolutions will be suffocated, but in 542, Li Bi revolted against Liang dynasty, and he took many cities, and the domination will end. In 544, Li Bi will name the country as Bangshuan. In 545, Liang Emperor ordered Deng Fei and Qin Bashan to reconquer Bangshuan, but they lost in 550 because Liang dynasty was under a civil war, and Liang dynasty will disappear after that civil war. In 5057, Li dynasty had hereditary problems, and the dynasty will last until 602, when Sui dynasty invade and conquer Bangshuan. With Liu Fang, and the third Chinese domination will begin. In 766, Feng Hong brothers rebelled against Tang dynasty, but in 1791 will be suffocated. The period will end in 938 when Ngon Nguyen liberate Annam from Chinese domination. Let's continue with the third period, the largest one, the dynastic period. For problems of time, I will only mention the dynasties and with an important fact. The Ngo dynasty, the Ding dynasty, the early Le dynasty, the later Li dynasty, the Tran dynasty that supported the Mongol invasion, the Ho dynasty that will be the shortest one with only 7 years, then the fourth Chinese domination, the later Li dynasty, the Mac dynasty, the restored period, the Taizong period, and the Nguyen period. The Nguyen dynasty will be the last one, and the father dynasty of Vietnam was defeated on 1887 when France conquests the peninsula. But the dynasty officially ended with the start of the First Indochinese War. Now, the fourth era will be the colonial, from 1862 to 1887. Let's talk it about. The era starts with the French Cochinchina. In 1847, France sent colonial appear to request Nguyen to remove the directive prohibiting of Catholicism, because in Vietnam was prohibited to be Catholic, but Vietnam do not accept that request. In 1858, the French-Spanish coalition made the Cochinchina operation, consisted on attack Da Nang and Gia Dinh. In 1862, France will occupy 3 provinces in the south of Vietnam. In 1873, France tried to invade Hanoi but failed. But on 1882, France captured Hanoi. And in 1884, Nguyen dynasty will surrender against the French. French Tonkin and French Annam would be both a protectorate state of the French Indochina that will last until 1948. Both Tonkin and Annam protectorate states will have many rebellions anti-French, but all will be suffocated. Now, in 1887, France established the Indochinese Union that will compose Laos, Cambodia, Dai-Nam, and part of China. Many riots anti-France happened or were suppressed. In 1940, France would surrender against the Nazis on the Second World War, against Japanese troops to land in Vietnam. In 1945, France will recover the Indochinese Peninsula, but Japan helped Viet Minh, led by Ho Chi Minh, to fight against France until the atomic bomb hits Japan on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After the World War II, the Union wanted to rule his own country, but France and United States, who wanted to implant imperialism, refused. This event take to the Union revolt against France, and the First Indochinese War began. It will last from 1946 to 1954. In 1946, the Haiphong bomb starts the war, and France was defeated on 1954 at the Dien Bien Phu battle, where they were forced to retreat their forces. Now let's pass to the current era, the Republic era. Let's start with the Second Indochinese War, also named as the Vietnam War. After the First Indochinese War, the Geneva Conference of 1957 named 4 countries: the Kingdom of Laos, the Kingdom of Cambodia, North Vietnam, and South Vietnam. These two countries, North Vietnam and South Vietnam, was divided by the parallel number 17 and was obligated to have a referendum in 1956 when the people will elect what type of government do they have, if capitalism, like South Vietnam, or communist, like North Vietnam. But South Vietnam, by the head of United States, made his own elections, and the referendum was not done. So the Second Indochinese War starts on that period, on that part. The Vietcong was a government on 1959, in which they will help North Vietnam against the South Vietnam, and the Ho Chi Minh route will be the route in which North Vietnam will send supplies to the Vietcong. The domino effect is the effect that the United States think that will happen if North Vietnam, conquer South Vietnam. They will conquer all the peninsula, and the communists will be implanted on the Indochinese peninsula. So the pretext of United States to enter in the war will be the incident of the Gulf of Tonkin on 1964. So the President Lyndon B. Johnson will sent the Rolling Thunder operation, in which this operation was formed to invade the southern part of Vietnam to help South Vietnam. New Zealand, Australia, South Korea, Thailand, and Philippines also helped USA with forces, and many other countries will help the United States to the supplements of food, etc. The helicopter will be the war machine on the war. Why? Because the helicopter will help the South Vietnamese to go to North Vietnam. North Vietnam uses the tunnels as tactic. The Tet offensive will be a great victory of North Vietnam. That's the cause why Lyndon B. Johnson didn't appear to the re-election campaign, because all the US people will be against him. On 1969, some bombers bombed Laos and Cambodia. Why? Because the Ho Chi Minh route passed through that way. In January 1973, a peace treaty is signed, in which tell that the United States has 30 days to leave the country. So that do United States. But on April 1975, the peace treaty was not given by the North Vietnamese with the Spring Operation, when on that year will attack Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, and South Vietnam will fail. Now that we saw all history, let's start with the history.
Well, Vietnam is located over here in the map, and it has a kind of S shape. The first thing to say about Vietnam is that it's part of Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is between Australia to the south and East Asia to the north. East Asia includes China, Korea, and Japan. Vietnam borders three countries supported by China to the north, Laos to the west, and Cambodia also to the west. It also has a lot of large coastline that is on the ocean. This part of the coastline is called the Gulf of Tonkin, and the other part of the coastline that is in the south is called the South China Sea. Then, the 8 regions of Vietnam. The 8 regions of Vietnam are Northwest, that is located in Duam Binh, Northeast in Thanh Nguyen, the Red River Delta in Hanoi, that is the capital of Vietnam, the North Central in Tuan Tin Hue, then the South Central Coast in Binh Dinh, then the Central Highlands in Dak Lak, and also Southeast in Ho Chi Minh City, that is also a very important city. Then the Mekong River Delta in Can Tho, that I am going to talk later about more detail of the Mekong River Delta, and also of other of these regions, like for example, the Central Highlands, that the southern portion of Vietnam is a plateau known as the Central Highlands, which is indicated over here. Well, first thing to talk about is this is a mountainous area that can be located on this map. In this photo, we can see this mountainous region, which has a cooler weather and is populated by people called the Hill tribes of Vietnam. Also, we have the Annamese Cordillera, that is the principal mountain range of Indochina and the watershed between the Mekong River and the South China. It extends parallel to the coast in a gentle curve, generally northwest to southeast, forming the boundary between Laos and Vietnam. The Terrans region includes the alluvial plains along the Saigon and the Dong Nay rivers. The lowlands of southern Vietnam are dominated by alluvial plains, the most extensive of which is the Mekong Delta, covering an area of 15,400 square miles in Vietnam. And one of the most important features of Vietnam are the river deltas. Now, a delta is when a big river branches out towards the ocean and it turns into a lot of small rivers. For example, we can see that the Red River Delta, the Red River runs down and then it breaks into all these little rivers and they are called deltas. Same thing with the Mekong River, which we are going to talk about it in a second. So let's talk about these deltas in a little bit more detail. Now, first look at the Red River Delta, or also known as the Hong River Delta. It is in the top of Vietnam. It's famous for Ha Long Bay, which is very popular with tourists. And in this picture, we can see the capital of Vietnam in it, that is Hanoi. Then the Red River Delta it runs from the top of the Tonkin Gulf. That's very important. Also, the Red River Delta, it's about 1,200 kilometers long. And you can probably see in this photo why they call it the Red River. All the dirt and the silt in the river gives it that kind of reddish tint, and that's why it's called the Red River. Then, the other delta I mentioned before is the Mekong Delta. The Mekong River runs from the Tibet Mountains just as the Red River Delta. The Mekong River runs all the way down through China and Burma, touching Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia, and eventually gets down to the ocean. It is the world's 10th longest river and the 6th longest in Asia. The Mekong River Delta has a large population. In fact, the biggest concentrations and the biggest number of people in one place in Vietnam are located here in the Mekong River. As you can see, there are many islands formed by this Mekong Delta. Then here in the Mekong River is located the city of Ho Chi Minh City, that is in the south or at the bottom of this S of Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh City used to be called Saigon, but then it was renamed in honor to a leader called Ho Chi Minh. Another thing about Ho Chi Minh City is that it's the most populated city, but it is not the capital. In Vietnam, the capital is somewhere else. The capital is called Hanoi. Now, a few things to remember about it is, as I mentioned, is the capital of Vietnam, but on the Red River, it has also the Red River and is the second largest city. And you can see here actually is quite near to the borders of China, sorry. And well, the climate. Being located in the tropics, Vietnam is strongly influenced by the South China Sea and has a monsoon-influenced tropical climate, typical of that mainland Southeast Asia. Vietnam receives the majority of its precipitation during monsoon seasons, but the rest of the year also receives regular rainfall. The temperature in Vietnam typically ranges between 70 and 95 Fahrenheit through all the year. Vietnam has three distinct regional weather patterns. The far north of Vietnam is mountainous, and because of its high altitude, can sometimes experience snow and freezing temperatures. In the northern Vietnam, winter is cool, that is from November to April, and dry and summer from May to October. It is hot, humid, and rainy from July to September and has the highest rainfall. Central Vietnam is hot and dry in the summer, that is from January to August, and cool and rainy in winter, with monsoon levels rains in October and November. Southern Vietnam has constant warm temperatures. Here, the seasons are simple, rainy May to November and dry November to May. As in any country, weather depends on your region, but generally, Vietnam enjoys a warm, sunny climate with some temperature changes for region to region. And that's it for all the geography of Vietnam.
Now we're going to talk about flora and fauna. Well, as you can see, there are lots of species of vascular plants. The vascular plants are all the plants that have special tissues to transport food all around the plant. The most are all the non-vascular plants, which means they don't have that type of tissue. There are also lots of species of mammals, reptiles, and amphibians. The freshwater fishes are the fishes that live in lakes with the fresh water, and the marine fish are the ones that live in the open sea. The land mollusks are all the mollusks that don't live in the ocean but in the land. The best example of a land mollusk is the snail. The representative animal of Vietnam is the water buffalo, that is the one in the image. It used to live in the lakes and he eats all the plants that are all around the border of the lake. There are also tigers and lemurs, and in the sea there are also dolphins. In the flora, we have the ebony flower, the orchid, and the lotus, that is the one in the photograph. There are also bamboo.
The Socialist Republic of Vietnam is the official name of this country, but many people also name it as Vietnam. The official name was adopted in 1976 when the country unified. A socialist republic is a sovereign nation state dedicated to the establishment of a political, social, and economic philosophy, characterized by social ownership that can be public, collective, cooperative, and equity. As an important data, only 5 countries remain socialist since the end of the Cold War. That are China, North Korea, Cuba, Vietnam, and Laos. Being a republic means that not all the power lies with one person. That's why in Vietnam are many political branches. The executive branch is formed by the head of state, the head of government, and the cabinet. The legislative one is formed by the National Assembly, and the judicial power by the Supreme People's Court. As an important data, this April 2nd, the National Assembly of Vietnam held elections, in which 3 of the 4 largest positions in the country were changed. The new elections will be held until 2026, unless the head of states relieves some president from power. Let's start with the head of state. As I said before, the executive power has a head of state. This one is elected by the National Assembly, and it can only last 5 years without re-election. The current president is Nguyen Xuan Phuc and was Prime Minister of Vietnam also. Was elected on April the 5th, 2021, and is the same as the president. His duties as head of state are promulgate laws and constitutions, declare war, appointing prime minister and cabinet among the members of the National Assembly. Also is the chief of the armed forces and the national defense and security. The current head of government is Pham Minh Chinh and entered in office on April the 5th of 2021. And it lasted 5 years, but in this case can be re-elected. duties as Prime Minister, this report all to the President, supervises the implementation of forward orders given by the President, the National Assembly or the Committee, and the central government. Propose the National Assembly to establish or dissolve some ministries or organs, etc. Important data also, the cabinet is formed by 18 ministries: Foreign Affairs, Defense, Public Security, Home Affairs, Justice, Finance, and Trade, Planning and Investment, Agriculture, Construction, Transport, Education, Science, Natural Resources and Environment, Information and Communications, Health, Labor and Culture. The National Assembly of Vietnam is the legislative power and the most powerful state organ in Vietnam. Chairperson is Vo Dinh Hue, was elected on March 31st of 2021 by the 483 members of the National Assembly. The duty of the National Assembly is to elect the head of state, head of government, and chief of justice. The length of the assembly is 5 years. After the year, the head of state convenes a National Assembly in which all powers are changed. Finally, the Supreme People Court, official power of Vietnam. Members are designed by the head of state. Its duty is provide leadership to the Vietnamese court system, provide the judicial process, recommend bills to the National Assembly appropriate under law. Its chairman person is Nguyen Hoa Binh. We have saw three of the foremost powerful positions in Vietnam: the head of state, the head of government, and the chairman of the National Assembly. But the fourth position is the leader of the Communist Party of Vietnam, which position is occupied by Nguyen Phu Trong. Now that we saw all about the branches, let us talk about the flag, because it's the national symbol of the country. The flag was designed by Nguyen Phu Tien and adopted on 1945 when Vietnam won the Indo-Chinese War against the French. The red means communist, led by the USSR, also means blood and revolution. The yellow star means the unity of the workers, soldiers, intellectuals, young boys, and farmers. In Vietnam had been many flags before, like the French Indo-Chinese War, the Indo-Chinese flag adopted in 1887, the flag of the state of Vietnam adopted in 1949, the flag of North Vietnam adopted in 1945, the Vietcong one adopted in 1960, and the current flag adopted in 1976.
The anthem of Vietnam is the Dien Quan Ca, or known as the Army Marching Song, which was written by Ban Cao in 1940. However, it was not adopted as national anthem of the North Vietnam in 1954, and in 1976 as the anthem of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. That was a fragment of the national anthem of Vietnam. The official language of Vietnam is the Vietnamese. It's an Austroasiatic language spoken by over 70 million people. The vocabulary of this language is influenced by Chinese and French, but is also influenced by English. Also, French and Chinese are languages commonly spoken on Vietnam. The currency. The official currency of Vietnam is the dong. You would need 33,176 dongs to make $1, or you would need 1,117 dongs to make 1 Mexican peso. The history of the currency of Vietnam starts with the French colonization. The French established the piastre as the official currency in Vietnam. They also got to use Mexican coins. Then later they used banknotes that were paper that was used like coins. In 1947, with their independence, they established the dong as the new currency. In the economy, the GDP of Vietnam is $245 billion. The GDP is all the money a country produces in 1 year. The GDP per capita is 3,052 euros. The GDP growing is 7.1%. The unemployment in Vietnam is 3.3%. To make a comparison, in Mexico, the unemployment is of 4.4%. And the GDP by sector, in the agriculture, there is 15.3%, industry 33.3%, and services 51%. In the export destinations, we have mainly USA rather than China. We also have South Korea, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and other countries. In the import sources, they import most of their products by China. They also receive many products from South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, the United States, and other countries.
Vietnam's major religions are Buddhism and Catholicism, although the largest percent of the population follows Vietnamese folk traditions or identifies as non-religious. 7.8% of the Vietnam people practice Buddhism, and around 6.6% of the population is Christian. And there are also tiny numbers of Caudaism and Hoa Hao believers that are the regions that I'm going to explain a little bit more detailed. Hoa Hao was formed in 1939 by the Buddhism reformer Yu Fu So. Is one of the first groups to initiate armed hostilities against the French and later the Japanese. The other religion in Vietnam that almost have the same population as Hoa Hao is the Caudaism or Caudaism religion. That is a syncretic religious doctrine with Taoist and Christian influences and with principles of Buddhism. This religion, officially founded in 1926, is a mixture of several religions, which coexist perfectly with each other. If there's something that defines this religion, is the relationship of God, or Caudaism, as it is also known, with man and with nature, which is based on respect for nature and good work of people.
Talking about the ethnic groups in Vietnam, we see here a chart, and most of the population is Vietnamese, which means they speak Vietnamese. I'm going to talk about four of the main ethnic compositions in Vietnam. Thai, Nearly 2 million people form this ethnic group. They believe in Buddha, which obviously is Buddhism, and they speak a completely different language known as Thai. Most of them are farmers. So is confirmed by 91,400 is conformed by 91,430 persons. This ethnic group is divided in two because there are people that practice Buddhism and others that practice animism, which is the belief that every object, place, and creature possess a distinct spiritual essence. The language they speak is Tho, which is very similar to Vietnamese. Unlike the Thai, they are also farmers. Muong. Nearly 1.5 million of Vietnam's population is conformed by them. They speak their own language, just like the other groups. This language is Hmong. The people in this group practice Buddhism and Christianity, and they are also farmers. The last of the ethnic groups that we're going to be learning today is called Khmer. Over 1,320,000 people are part of this group. They speak their own language, which is Khmer, and they practice animism. And again, just like the other groups, these ones are also farmers. Of course, these farmers provide food, which leads us to the Vietnamese cuisine. The Vietnamese cuisine is considered to be simple. An article made by TNN said that any Vietnamese dish could be made in the best city restaurant or on the street. What makes Vietnamese cuisine so special and simple is its simplicity and the fresh ingredients in all of the dishes. One of the most famous dishes in Vietnam is called chaka, first cooked in Hanoi, and it is considered exceptional for the Hanoians. It is made of fried morsel of fish. A morsel is a piece of fish. In Spanish, un bocado. The dish was served to the Vietnamese troops during the French colonial rule, and it was served by the Duan family. It is 130 years old. The government decided to name the paint street after the dish, so now the street is called Chaka. Here we have the chart, the square, and the street. The next famous dish is called bot chien, which is a favorite snack for the American rapper Saigon. If I'm honest, I've never heard of him, so I can't tell if he's famous or not. But the curious thing about this dish is everything it has on it. It has fried dough of rice, egg, papaya, green onions, chili sauce, and rice vinegar. And for a reason I do not know, it is very popular for the after school crowd, like the kids that get out of school, and for the teachers, and also for the after midnight crowd. Now that we talk about some popular things in Vietnam, we're going to continue to talk about the popular things, but now about places, touristic places in Vietnam. First, we have the Kadba Iceland, which means Women's Island in English. It is famous because of the activities inside the island, such as kayak, hike through the national park, mountain bike around the island, and swimming in the shore. Most of the activities are nature-based, so if you're one of those persons who doesn't drink with a straw, this place is just for you. The next place is a lake called Huam Kiem Lake. In English means the Lake of the Returned Soul. It is a freshwater lake with over 12 hectares. It is mainly used for photos. But why is called the Lake of the Returned Sword? Because when Vietnam was fighting against the Ming Dynasty from China, a sword was given to Leloy, who was the king, by the gods. But the sword was made of iron, which was extracted from the meteor. And that is why the sword was stronger than the others. So after the battle, a local god asked for the sword back. Leloy gave the sword back to a giant turtle, which is the one of the left. It's not the one turtle that Vietnamese people believe he gave the sword back, but Vietnamese believe it was the same. It was very similar to the one on the photo. The last place is called the Cuchi Tunnels. The Cuchi Tunnels is a 70-mile long tunnels or 121 kilometers. They are preserved by the Vietnamese government because these tunnels were used in the Vietnam War. The soldiers used them as hiding spots. Some tunnels were adjusted so the visitors could walk in this. As a fun fact, The tourists have to crawl to reach the safer parts of the tunnels. And before we finish with our presentation, we're going to present a video with a song that is going to give a summary and some interesting facts about Vietnam.
Vietnam, independence, freedom, happiness, and fun. Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Tet Quang Don. In Vietnam.
The 8 regions of Vietnam are Northwest, Northeast, Red River Delta, North Central, South Central Coast, Central Highlands, Southeast, and Mekong River Delta.
The Sapa countryside and Cu Chi tunnels, the Mekong Delta and Halong Bay, the Babi National Park and My Song, the Dragon Bridge and Paradise Cave, Canto Hai Phong, Bien Hoa Da Na, Sticky Rice, Po and Mekong. Vietnam, independence, freedom, happiness, and fun. Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Tet Quang Don. In Vietnam.
The population of Vietnam is approximately 95 million people. The official language is Vietnamese, and the official unit of currency is the dong.
Orchid, lotus, and chrysanthemum, ebony, teak, bamboo, and mangrove, tigers, lemurs, orca, and dolphin. National animal is water buffalo, car perch and eel, woodpecker, ibis, cabbage, cucumber, spinach. Vietnam, independence, freedom, happiness, and fun. Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Tet Quang Don. In Vietnam.
The Vietnamese people celebrate the Perfume Festival, the Mid-Autumn Festival, the Hoi and Lantern Festival, and Wandering Souls Day.
Navia Wen, Danny Graves, and Chloe Dow, Jonathan Kee, Nam Lee, and Maggie Q. Classical and imperial court music, water puppetry, Fukang and Katru, Monique Truong, Andrew Lam Bao Ninh, dominoes, karate, cycling. Vietnam, independence, freedom, happiness, and fun. Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Tet Quang Don. In Vietnam. Vietnam, independence, freedom, happiness, and fun. Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Tet Quang Don. In Vietnam.
Thank you, and that will be all.